way. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your day's off to a good start. If not, we can get it headed in that direction. Lots to get to. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on the track. Down in Huber's last night, obviously a big Indiana night. Coaches Archie Miller, Tom Allen, Shonda Stanton from softball, Terry Morin from women's basketball, and Jeff Mercer and the Indiana baseball team showed up as they are in town or were headed in town to Louisville for the NCAA baseball tournament, which begins for them tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll have complete coverage of that over the weekend. So back here on Monday with that. But also we'll have complete updates over the weekend on Twitter. So you can feel free to follow me at Jim Coyle ISB. We'll keep you up to date on that. Of course, last night was the first time we'd heard from Archie Miller in quite some time. We'll hear from him both in the pre-event press conference where we spoke to him actually, and then his speech to the guests there at a sold-out Huber's. I'm not sure if it was completely sold out or not, but it was pretty daggone full. A big Indiana night, so and it was cool to see the other coaches there. They didn't speak before, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but that would just be so much to do for everybody. Other than just covering them when they speak, which they also got to address the audience, emceed by the great Don Fisher. It was a pretty good night. I still don't agree with the timing of it in May. This is something I would see more doing right before the season starts, where it used to be held in August. I think it would be such a better event if it was then, but it didn't affect the crowd any, let me tell you, as the Southern Indiana faction of Indiana Hoosier fans turned out strong last night. To hear Archie, to hear Tom Allen, and of course Shonda Stanton, softball coach at Indiana, Terry Morin, the basketball coach at Indiana, women's basketball coach. Jeff Mercer didn't speak. They were just there because of the happenstance of the NCAA tournament going on, but they should have had him up there. I'm a little surprised they didn't, but time issue after all. There's only so much time, and that's an event that lasts anyway. Kevin Brockway's on the program today. He was there in attendance as well. We'll talk to him about that. And we'll hear from each of the participants. We'll hear from Archie Miller. We're going to hear from Tom Allen. We'll hear extensively from those two, especially from Archie. But we'll also hear from Terry Morin as well. Hear what she had to say. Looking forward to talking to Kevin about it. It was his first event, his first Huber's event. It was a pretty good deal. Don Fisher was very open and honest in his duties as MC. When he was introducing Tom Allen, talked about the football program having not had greatness in the tradition, but that he believed that Tom Allen was the guy, and I believe he's right. I mean, Tom Allen is doing a good job. Recruiting-wise, he's really building the base of the program, and I've been saying it for a few weeks now. I fully embrace what he's trying to do, and hopefully he can get that done. And it would be nothing short of amazing for that to happen. I mean, you're looking at a guy who had no collegiate head coaching experience, and only a couple of years as a coordinator, but his drive and his passion are leading the way as two of the best recruiting classes in IU football history are in the books. And He made some changes in the coaching ranks as far as relinquishing duties as the DC, and we'll see how that shores things up. And he acknowledged last night you have to see that on the field. But it was a good night overall at Huber's in Southern Indiana, down in Starlight, Huber's Winery. If you live in Southern Indiana, you're very familiar with where we're talking about. If you're not, you're missing out on a nice the jewel of Southeast Indiana. No, just kidding. A little Brockmeyer reference. Brockmeyer, one of our favorite shows here on the program, if you're not familiar with that show. But hit us up on the text line. Any comments, questions? We'll have lots of audio from the participants from last night. Let's I'll go ahead and hit a break, and we'll get ready for some of that and start airing it for you, all right? Welcome into the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle on for the day. Hope you're all ready to go. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving Southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
And what?
Yeah, we back.
Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle along with you. Hope to see you. Day's off to a good start. Thanks a lot for taking us along. Jake's at the wheel. A lot from last night down in Hubers in Starlight, Indiana. The Indiana train rolled into the station there at Hubers and unloaded a lot of Indiana coaches. The baseball team was on hand as they're preparing for the NCAA tournament in Louisville. Jeff Mercer was there. He didn't speak, but the group was there. I got to talk to him for a second, say hi. Archie Miller, Tom Allen, and Coach Terry Morin, as well as Shonda Stanton, were in attendance. They did speak. And Coach, what do you have first, Jake? You got Archie? We've got so much audio, and now is this from the speak or from him speaking, or from the pregame presser, pre-event, whatever you want to call it? We met with Tom Allen and Archie Miller prior to the event, and then they went out and spoke as well. But it's a couple of different. They're very different, obviously. But here's Archie Miller from the pre-event presser.
Back to work in our off season. Get some of these guys back for the majority of basically the remainder of the summer to get our program started, and we're happy about that. The month of May has been really
I hope they can
uneventful, so to speak. A lot of recruiting and a lot of planning just in terms of moving into our off season. So like I said, this will be a big weekend to get through and our guys back, and looking forward to our summer plan.
First question, Alex. The three guys that tested the process that decided to come back, what kind of feedback did they get? How they work out for any teams?
I'm not sure. Justin spent the majority of his time in Bloomington. He's in class right now, so he did a lot of working out. Really has put some time in on his game. And Al's been home for the month of May doing his stuff, and Devontae's also been home. So they've been on their own. I think their feedback really came more along the lines from the advisory committee and whatnot, and they were able to probably put themselves in some situations where they were able to work out with some facilities and whatnot. But the fact that all three guys are coming back, we're thankful for that. We're very, very excited to get those guys moving forward.
Mike, any update on Jerome Hunter? And do you see him being able to make an impact?
Jerome, yeah. Yeah, Jerome is in Bloomington. He's continuing with his rehabilitation. He's been elevated in terms of his activity level. He's doing a lot more individual stuff, but he's far away from having any indication or any final decision on where he goes from here. We're probably looking towards July and August to seeing what he's capable of doing as we continue to progress him with what the doctors and the training staff have done with his plan. But we're excited to get him back on the floor. He is doing a lot more individual work. He's doing a lot more weight training and conditioning, so it's good to have him back being active.
Jeff? How do you envision using Deron and Joey, and how do you think Joey and Trace can fit together as far as guys who potentially can be on the court together?
Well, I mean, that's big ball. That's fine. It's right there. To have three guys, really for the first time since I've been here, to be able to man that position and at least have that depth with three guys that are able to play what you would call other big guys on the floor. But I think all three guys have unique games where they can play with one another. Deron obviously is a very, very skilled passer. He's very, very good in the low post. Joey's very good in the low post as well, just being able to play against him and scout him. He's another guy that can move around. But we're going to get those guys moving around a little bit. Trace is going to be able to play with both guys. And one of the two, whoever's on the floor, will have to be able to defend on the perimeter a little bit. Now we'll confirm, so to speak, what combinations work. But the depth at that spot and to have that type of size and strength, so to speak, is a positive.
Kevin, Dustin, and Stu.
Coach, how do you address shooting in the offseason? And are you a guy that
Shoot more.
tinkers? Yeah. Are you a guy that tinkers with mechanics, or are you a guy that lets people shoot the way they've shot, or how do you handle that aspect of the
I think it's tough. I think when guys get there, the biggest thing is repetition. You know, guys got to get in the gym. They got to do it every day. You got to shoot the shots that you're shooting in the game. And we've had some guys really progress, you know, to different percentages in our first 2 years, and it's going to have to keep going. And I think Armand coming in has a chance to help us behind the line. Denise getting a year older, and Jerome, you know, depending on where he's at, are all good perimeter shooters that, you know, are young and they got to develop. But we'll work hard. You know, our individual plan and, you know, our team guys all summer long will be hitting the gym, and that's a big focus for everyone. Is just to continue to, you know, become a better shooting team, a better long distance shooting team with more confidence. And it's repetition. It's being able to put them in situations where they're repping it in game speed and game time, and, you know, hopefully over the course of time, anytime I've been around it, the more you do it, the better off you get.
Archie, I want to go back to what Jeff asked about playing Trace with those guys. I mean, do you view Trace as more of a 4, more of a 5? I mean, where do you think he fits at this stage?
You know, in this day and age of basketball, it's hard to pin a guy down and say what he is. You know, I think Trace is very mobile. He's very athletic and long. He's better than a lot of people probably give him credit for offensively and putting the ball on the floor and facing up than he's probably been able to show. I also think that, you know, with him, you know, the big thing with him is development. He's going to have to develop a way of playing on the perimeter as well. But he's a good, you know, he's a high school All-American. He's very talented. That has a lot of room to grow up and get better, which is a good thing. You know, he's basically was on campus. Him and Armand today. They started off, and, you know, Trace was, I think, 6'9" 3/4" and 245 pounds as a true freshman. He's a big kid, but his mobility and his athleticism and his face-up game and some things, those are some things that we're going to really look to take advantage of.
I know you've got a couple open scholarships after everything that's going on this spring with some of the returnees. Do you envision using that in this current cycle, or are you planning to bank them? What does that look like for you?
Well, you know, be able for the first time since I've been here is to have some roster flexibility with our scholarship situation. It's never good in 2019 to have 13 guys on scholarship. It just doesn't work at this level. You got to have some flexibility. For us to have a little bit of a breathing room, to have some flexibility to do what we want, we would only use one if it was an impactful decision. We're not going to use one that's going to, you know, just be hasty. We've had all spring to kind of evaluate things. But I think going into the 2020 class with some more windows to add some more bodies in that class is something that we look forward to. And, you know, in this day and age with the transfer portal, the NBA draft process, your roster is in constant flux. I mean, you got guys coming and going, you know, as soon as the season ends, and you never know. I mean, you could have a guy transfer, 2 guys go pro. Next thing you know, you're going to have some more options. So for us, we're going to be very smart with it. We would only do anything right now or move it into next year if it was very impactful for us. But to be able to have a bigger 2020 recruiting opportunity is exciting to us.
Along those lines of chemistry, sometimes put together with 11 guys.
Yeah, without question. I mean, I think the best teams have the best chemistry, you know, quite frankly, are all enjoying it. You know, sometimes when you have 13 guys on scholarship, you know, 12, if 12 and 13 aren't redshirting or injured, you know, you have some dynamics you have to deal with playing time. And to be able to go into this season a little thinner on that, to me, gives guys more of a light at the end of the tunnel where they have a real purpose and they can see themselves being a part of things for long term.
Archie, from a big picture sense, as you look back at last season, now moving into this season, what do you most want to see out of your team, and where are you most confident that you're going to see it?
I think, you know, that at the end of the day, you know, when you're losing a lot of guys after your first season to graduation, you're bringing in a lot of young kids. And the mix of the young and the old is sometimes the tricky situation. Where, you know, not all the times are you ready, the maturity level that it takes to be good, especially in the Big Ten. You know, at times, you know, we have to grow up faster. And I think bringing in 3 more guys, Joey being older, having our freshman class get that year under their belt, that gives you a little bit more confidence that you're a little bit older, a little bit stronger mentally. You've been through it one time, and then you hope that your juniors and seniors, now that they've been here a couple years and have played a significant role on the team, that those guys sort of take ownership. But we're looking for a big summer. You know, togetherness, continuity, our team just in general with chemistry is something you're always on a quest to deal with, but we want our guys clearly heading into the season with a much different confidence level from the returners.
Coach, what are some of the challenges in replacing guys like Romeo and Juwan?
I mean, Juwan's a graduating senior, so you're seeing that one coming. Romeo is an incoming freshman. You planned on him leaving, so it wasn't as if those things were surprises. You two talented guys. Juwan had a great 2-year run with us in terms of his productivity, and he'll be missed greatly, but that's a great opportunity for other guys to step up and grab different roles, kind of like he did when we first got here. Romeo's freshman season, although everyone wants to nitpick it apart, he did some amazing things for us as well. His productivity as a true freshman stacked up against the college basketball, world, really, really looks good. And you just think about the league that we just played in terms of the talent level, the teams, and what he was going up against as a freshman was as good as any. So those two guys, they did their part. Now it's, Rob Finney's got to develop a bigger role offensively. Devontae and Deron, being seniors, have to now elevate their games a little bit as well. And I think with opportunity, you get great confidence, and I think you'll see guys change the complexion of sort of their careers as they get older. That's what happens.
Archie, what do you think of Romeo's potential at the next level?
Oh, Romeo's got the untapped potential. Physically, he's as gifted as any guy you're going to see. From a basketball perspective, he's still young in terms of learning the game. He played 1 year in college. Now he's getting ready to head into the next level. And I think he's so mindful and he's so smart in terms of processing things that it doesn't take him long to pick up on what he needs to do. And I think, obviously coming off of the season that he had, being able to fix his thumb is a big part of this last 4 or 5 weeks. As he's headed into the combine and doing his interviews, that's where he's really going to stand out because he's such a great kid. He's so humble. When you sit down with him, you start to really feel like you're dealing with a professional. You're dealing with somebody who knows what's going on around him. He's not oblivious to what's happening. So I think that's the one thing that's going to give him a great edge, his personality, his humility, and obviously I think he's a very, very hard worker. You combine those things in the right environment, he's going to take off. I expect him to have a great career.
Coach, we know about Nate, but do you have any other updates on your walk-on situation?
I'm sorry?
On your walk-on situation, do you have any other updates right now beyond Nate Childress?
No walk-on updates right now. We're sort of figuring out what we're trying to do here as we head in there, but obviously those guys play a big role for us.
Right. Race is a guy, obviously. Race. The red shirt and the injury, I know we talked to you about him kind of through the back end of last season, but just what do you see as the important keys for him through the summer into the fall, other than obviously staying healthy on the court?
Yeah, Race had just a very, very difficult year. Unlucky, whatever it may be. He had one of the harder years that a guy could go through. Chose not to redshirt, chose to find a way to get to the court, and I think that's a credit to sort of how he stayed with it. You saw towards the end of the year he was able to help us, and he barely had any playing time leading into February or March, wherever it was. So he's got to have a good off-season health-wise. He's got to continue to get his body back, get in great shape. And then I think the thing that he has to do for us as he gets a little bit older, Race has a good IQ. He has a good feel. He can play on the perimeter. He can play inside. And just developing a confidence level offensively where he's starting to shoot the ball with range. He's starting to be able to play inside out a little bit. And he's able to bang and be able to rebound for us. And so he gives us a third-year player. Really hasn't really got going yet, but he's actually a third-year player, so he's got some experience to him. Big thing for him is health. Coming off of the season that he had and being able to rebuild his confidence level, his conditioning level, and hopefully, get a little bit of luck here where he gets a stretch where he can get going.
Coach, you've been through a couple grinding Big Ten seasons, one scheduling issues in the first year when it was in New York, and then a lot of injuries last year. How have you grown, and what have you learned as a coach through those stretches?
I think you just got to coach the day. You can't get caught up in everything that's going on. You learn how to control what you can. You block noise out as much as you possibly can, because especially in this past year, every single night was amazing. The competition level of our conference. It showed in the tournament. I think it showed in obviously Final Four. Opportunity for Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue obviously going very deep as well, Maryland being able to win a game. So, I think you have to be able to focus on your guys. You have to be able to prepare your guys to play, because if you get caught up in the, oh man, who's the next one? Oh, wow, we got 6 of 8 on the road. What are we going to do? You start to play that game, you start to coach against your schedule rather than just dealing with what you have to deal with every day to get better. And I think that's a huge part of our team next year, being able to approach the season in a different manner. It's not about getting caught up in all of what's coming. It's all about what's right now. And I think, like I said, you get through that for a year. You're a young guy like Rob. You get through that as a second-year player like Al. You get over that hump of what's next? I think we have a group now that should expect this is sort of how this goes. Right? This is going to be hard work. It's going to be a lot of stuff that we got to hang in there through tough times and find a way to do it. I think that you'll see a group next year that's a little bit more mature in terms of handling some of that stuff.
There's Coach Archie Miller coming to you from Huber's last night as the big event down at Huber's Winery involving Archie Miller, Tom Allen. Also on hand was Terry Moore, the women's basketball coach, Shauna Stanton, the softball coach, and Jeff Mercer and the baseball team stopped by as well. But we'll have all of that uploaded for you so you can listen to all of it because there's a lot more of Archie Miller. There's the speech that he gave at Huber's. This was the pre-event meeting with the press before. Talked about a lot of things. I think there also you heard him talking about the status of Jerome Hunter, which is a huge question mark going into next year. A huge question mark, especially with the fact of having 2 open scholarships, which he was asked about that as well. We'll revisit that in the next hour. We'll talk about that. That's, to me, 2 of the biggest things for the IU basketball right now are those open scholarships and the fact that they're going to have 2 less bodies a season after needing every single one that they had because of injuries and whatnot. And we'll also talk about Jerome Hunter as well. But we'll also hear from Coach Archie Miller and more of what was talked about last night. Tim hit us up on the text line, said Joey and Trace say they are more vocal and have some emotion to bring onto the floor than IU did last year. Well, we'll see about that. I'd say that there's going to be – I think there's going to be a lot of differences in that regard. I think you're going to see a completely different team. As a matter of fact, the last thing that we just heard from Archie is a question I asked him about what he had learned over the last couple of years of going through the couple of grinding Big Ten seasons. The season before last, you had the scheduling issues where they were trying to make room for New York at the end of the season, so they had to move everything up a week, and it really crunched the schedule together, and that caused some issues. Then last year, you had all the injury issues and whatnot. And he talked about seeing a more mature team on the floor. That part of his answer. A lot of things. We'll get to that. We'll play that again specifically in the next hour, but a lot to get to. And we got plenty more to get to here on the program. On the show today, Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers will be with us later on. We'll break all this down and talk about baseball as well as that gets underway tomorrow. But when we come back, we'll hear Terry Morin and Tom Allen from last night as well. Stay tuned here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. Indiana Sports Beat. On the beat, as my man Jamal Meeks like to say. Awesome when I had him on. A lot going on down in southern Indiana last night at Huber's Winery. Of course, the big event for put on by the IU Varsity Club. Former Floyd Central Athletics Director Les Wright put that together. He looked very festive in his red IU cowboy hat and candy striped suit. Where's a man get a candy striped suit? I should have asked Les that question, because he sure had one. He certainly had one. Archie Miller, Tom Allen, Terry Morin, John Stanton all spoke last night. Jeff Mercer from the IU baseball team was there. The entire baseball team was there, which was cool. I don't know if they were introduced or not, or if they just stopped by and ate. I wasn't out front the whole time, so they may have been introduced before. Big crowd on hand at Huber's. A lot of questions to Archie prior to. We heard Archie in the last segment. We'll hear him in the next hour again. But there's two different parts. There's the pre-event presser where we got to speak to Archie Miller and Tom Allen, and then they both spoke to the Huber's crowd as well afterwards. But Terry Morin also spoke last night. We haven't heard from her since the end of basketball season. We'll have her on the program at some point. But let's hear what she had to say last night at her opportunity to speak to the Huber's crowd.
Instant, success. And, one of the things that we've been mindful in our program, that anytime that you take over a program, it is a process. And a lot of people hate that word process, but it is indeed that. And it takes steps year in and year out. It takes the right people, it takes the right step, and you can't miss a step. And one of the things I'm most proud of in terms of what we've been able to accomplish in our program is that we've been very intentional. We've been very intentional, especially in the players that we've invited into our Indiana family. And I'm not going to tell you we hit them all out of the park. We have missed on a few, but we finally, I think, are at a place now in our program where we can be more selective of the young ladies that we're asking to come into our program. And a lot of that has to do with the success that we've had. As most of you guys know who have followed us, this year was going to be an interesting year for women's basketball. We had just graduated the all-time leading scorer, Tyra Voss, from Indiana. And we also graduated our third leading scorer, all-time leading scorer, Amanda Cahill. So we had some pretty big shoes to fill. And what a lot of folks didn't realize is that we had two young ladies, Allie Patberg from another Southern Indiana kid from Columbus, Indiana, and Brenna Wise, who's out of Pittsburgh, Archie's hometown, that we're going to come in and fill those shoes. And they obviously, Allie was our point guard this past season, Brenna was our stretch four, and did a tremendous job, and were great leaders, and obviously were instrumental in the success that we were able to have this year. One of the things that I think everybody's excited about is the fact that I know we are and proud of is that we've made history. Again, being from Southern Indiana, I've watched a lot of Indiana games, and that's both men's and women's. And I never thought that I would see the day 2 years ago when we were in the NIT with 13,000 and those 9 spectators that showed up to support us and cheer us, and fans were actually in the rafters in Assembly Hall. And I never will forget that for our players and our community. And myself, again, just being from Seymour and never imagining that we would get that kind of crowd that would come out and support women's basketball. But one thing you guys, and I know that you guys love and care about, are hanging those banners. So it was a pretty significant thing for us to be able now to have history in the hall with women's basketball, of being able to hang that WNIT championship banner up there 2 years ago, which was really a great thing for us. But as we move forward in our program, we continue to get excited about the young ladies that are in our program. As Fish said, we have everybody returning. We only lost our 5 men from Kim Royster. We have everybody returning. We've made grounds in terms of we have 5 freshmen that are going to be joining us. We have a transfer. Notre Dame's been really good to us. We have another transfer from Notre Dame that's going to be joining us. Danielle Patterson. She's a sophomore, so she'll have to sit and play for us. And so we're excited, just about the direction, that we're excited about the players that we've been able to recruit. And, I think that I know this, that, Coach talked a lot about grit. We talk about grit all the time in our program. We talk about toughness. I just got a text the other day from a gentleman that was so proud that he had his 3rd daughter, and he said, "Look out at Coach Warren, my daughter's going to play for you." At some point, my response was, 1, I need her measurements, and 2, if she has grit and she's tough, then she can play for us. And that's those. There's so many things. We hang our hat defensively, but we want to be gritty. We want to be tough. We talk all the time about giving each other good juice, and good juice is just that, is saying something good, positive to your teammate. And as I always remind the kids, if you're juiceless, you're useless. And so, and that's sort of been one of our mantras, our slogans that we use throughout the season, is that we're always, if you hear our kids talk, if you hear them speak to the media, it's always about how can we help our teammates, what can we do to separate ourselves, from other teams. And a lot of that, as Shauna had alluded to when she was up here talking, is about what can you give to your teammate, and to your teammates. And so, we have a lot of, as I mentioned, a lot of great things going on in our program. We're going to continue to get better. The NCAA tournament was great, but that's our goals were much higher than that. The round of 32 was was a good experience for us, but we're talking Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Fours. That's what motivates us, that's what inspires us, that's what drives us every day. And excited again about our roster. We have continued to upgrade our schedule this year. We're going to open up. We have UCLA coming into the hall. We also have to go to Florida. We have to go to the Virgin Islands, which isn't a bad thing, but I guess the only bad thing is we have to play South Carolina, Baylor, and Washington State. That's not a bad thing. That's a really good thing for our team. And so if any of you guys are interested around Thanksgiving, you want to get
All right, we're back. Terry Morin. I couldn't hear very well, but Terry Morin got to speak last night and on the dais at Huber's Winery and Orchard down in southern Indiana, Starlight, Indiana. Big night for all things Indiana. Shauna Stanton also spoke. I don't have that at the moment, but we hadn't heard from Coach Morin for a while. Also, Tom Allen, Indiana's football coach, delivered a nice talk to the crowd, energizing them, but of course he knows that the at the end of the day he's got to win. He makes no bones about that. They've had a couple of incredible recruiting classes, the two best in Indiana football and the recruiting era as far as they've been tracking this, and that has to translate to wins on the field. But I think that things are heading in the right direction. They've got a lot of options they didn't have before. Their quarterbacks room is abundant. They have a lot of talent. More importantly, they have a lot of competition, and competition drives better play on the field. The running backs room, man, there was a great question. We'll have to dig that up for the next hour. But I asked about how you keep everybody happy in that running backs room, because you've got Cole Guest coming back. You've got Stevie Scott. You've got Ivory Winters, Samson James. There's so many different names that are available in that running backs room. And I think it was Mike Schumann that asked, how do you keep all those people happy? And his first answer was, well, the job's not to keep them happy. Great answer, by the way. But let's hear a little bit from Tom Allen as he spoke last night as well.
Coach, I heard you've been up to Indianapolis.
Yeah, a couple of times here in the last 2 days. Took our staff to Carb Day on Friday, which was awesome. And really enjoyed that experience, and then got a chance to go back to the race. First one was really, really good a year ago. I thought this one was even better. Just love what the race represents for our whole state, and just the ability to draw that type of attention to Indiana. And obviously the race itself was pretty exciting all the way from start to finish. And just a lot of great people. Brad May, one of our former players, is a guy that really takes great care of us and has a sponsorship of one of the cars there in the 500 race. So just love being a part of our home state and what it represents.
You never go up to talk to the Colts organization?
Just spent the afternoon there today. So I was there last week and was there again today. So really impressed with what Coach Reich's building there, the way he's doing it. Chris Ballard, the GM, has been extremely first class with our program, and open arms to allow us to be able to have access to them and watch a practice and meet with their coaches. And we're going to really take full advantage of that. So we've got two world-class organizations real close.
It's kind of the annual question, but you got guys starting to report here. I think you've been tweeting about it. Do you expect everybody in kind of at the freshman report times? Is there anybody who might have to lean back a little bit?
Well, we have most of our guys will be in tomorrow, so that will be an exciting day for us to get them moved into their dorms and get a chance to get their physicals and orientation and all that. So they'll start class on Monday and start lifting on Monday and running. And so that'll be the majority of the guys. Then we have another wave in 2 weeks. 4 or 5 more guys will be, the final 4 or 5 will be coming then. As is always the case, you got a couple guys that have to do some final work, so we'll know for sure on them here in a couple of weeks. But overall, really excited about the guys coming and anxious to get them here. Texting many of them as they tell me when they're landing, taking off, and putting that out there as well. But special group of guys that can't wait to get on campus.
Coach, last year, the new rule allowing players to play 4 games without burning a redshirt year. Who are some of the guys that really benefited from that and may see a substantial amount of playing time this year because of that experience?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind, James Miller got a chance to play later in the year and without burning his red shirt. And I think of that one huge play he had against Michigan, just kind of showing the skill set that he had, the toughness, the ability to make plays in that venue as a true freshman. Great to be able to let him do that and then still have 4 more years, So Miles Marshall's another guy, got a chance to get his feet wet out there a little bit and then still have a chance to play 4 games. Madison Norris got a chance to get him to run down some kickoffs and get him a chance to experience the game day opportunity and then still, once again, have a chance to play. And so those are the guys that come to mind, but it's a great rule. We utilize it to the fullest. You never really know how a guy's going to handle his freshman year, how they're going to respond to the transition and be able to really, truly compete and play for 4 games. Sometimes it's more than that, and then if that's the case, obviously they're helping you quite a bit. So I think that we have a set group of guys this year that you kind of have put in that category, and then we'll know after more at the fall camp and then into the season how that's going to shake out.
Coach, how about Michael Penix, a guy that played a lot last year, so got some opportunity. How's his knee doing? Any update on the QB room as a whole? How you?
Yeah, just we met with the staff this morning and feel really, really good about his progress. And he's right on schedule where we expected him to be. In his movement, May was really big for us in his next step of progression to be able to get him 100% back to full speed. So our medical staff feels really good that he's where he needs to be right now. So he'll be 100% by fall, but he's really, really close with that right now. And so just really encouraged by the way he's handled that because it's really the ability for those guys to dive into that rehab and handle it the proper way really determines the recovery, and you can't take anything for granted with that. And even though we've gotten better and better with ACL surgeries medically, the effort they put into the rehab is really the key to how quickly they can come back. So really excited about his progress and how hard he's worked in the weight room and needs to have a huge June and July. And the whole room itself is as healthy as it's been since I've been around this place. And having those 3 guys come out of spring and all have opportunities to compete. Obviously, Peyton is the returning starter, and they're going to have to beat him out. I know that's his mindset, which is the way it should be, and he's continued to work extremely hard. And all 3 of them, Jack's, gotten back. He's 100% now, and has had a really good month of May. Feels great, looks great. So all 3 guys right now are ready to have a highly, effective June and July and go into fall camp to compete to be in.
You've had plenty of time now to look through all your spring film. What did you really like, and what do you need to work on?
Well, what I liked was I felt like defensively, with having a new defensive coordinator, and not changing the scheme, but just doing some things differently. I thought I loved the way we flew around, loved the speed that I saw after watching all the film. You take a step back, objectively watch the group work. I like the number of guys that flashed and made plays, and whether it's on the defensive line, a lot of different guys' names there, linebackers, a lot of different guys there, secondary, a lot of different guys there. So that encouraged me, but still need to work on this physical strength and depth of our defensive line. That's a big priority. Offensively, really encouraged by the rapid, I'd say, growth of putting in a new offense with Kalen DeBoer as a new offensive coordinator, and just like the things that we're able to do. I like the flexibility and multiplicity I think I see us being able to have with our system and maximizing our roster there. Another area of concern, I guess, would just be the depth on offensive line. The strength of that group. So once again, that's a big priority. We knew already coming into the summer. So June and July, that's going to be another part. I thought they had a great offensive line, had a great month of May, which is just a really discretionary time that they have to do. We can't require them to be there, but the guys know what's at stake. They know how hard they worked, and there was a great work ethic by the offensive line this past month. And so that's a tribute to Coach DeBoer, leader of the offense, and Coach Hiller, our offensive line coach, and our strength staff. So I feel like that Miles Marshall is one that continues to impress me with his work ethic. Another guy that I mentioned already about from the season, but just really like his mindset right now. And Nick Westbrook, another one, just really rising up and being a leader. The 3 senior offensive linemen have been excellent, like you expect them to be, showing that leadership every day, showing up and doing extra things. They had the most workouts of anybody on our whole team for those 3 guys in the month of May, and that just shows you where they're at mentally and how much this means to them and how hard they're working. The running back room is a room that I like right now. They have to keep working hard, and you better be on your toes and look over your shoulder, because there's a lot of guys in there that can take your job if you're not doing all those things right. So that to me is what sticks out, is just the number of individuals that we have. We're starting to create some depth, need more. It has to continue with recruiting, but bringing in this recruiting class and getting those guys here this summer is exciting, and just knowing that that's what we're going to have to do to be able to be where we want to be, which is have the quality depth that you need to finish out games and finish out the season.
And there's Coach Tom Allen for you from last night at Huber's Winery in Southern Indiana, Starlight, Indiana, the annual Hoosier Palooza event, as I like to call it. But another capacity crowd, big crowd. I don't know how many people in there, but whatever that thing holds, it was pretty full. A lot of people enjoyed a good meal and got to see a lot of Indiana, got to see the baseball team that was there as they were preparing for the NCAA tournament in Louisville. That begins tomorrow for the Hoosiers at 2 p.m., I believe. Kevin Brockway's on the show today from CNHI Papers. He was there as well. We'll break that down and talk about it. Talk about a lot of what Archie had to say. A lot of questions were asked beforehand. Questions about Jerome Hunter, his status. Not a lot said, to be honest with you. It's still it's kind of up in the air. His status, they'll know more here in the next month or so, where they are with him, with his leg condition that he's dealing with, and whether or not he's going to be a part of that team next year. Because I got to tell you, that's a pretty damn important question. Because right now they're short. They only have their 2 scholarships open, which means they have 2 less bodies than last year. They've got a lot less than that because there were a lot of walk-ons that extinguished their eligibility. So they've got a lot less bodies to throw around than they did last year, and they needed it was an all hands on deck deal last year because of the injuries. So that can become very crucial to what they can do this year. One of the things that he talked about was having Trace Jackson Davis and Joey Brunk, that for the first time since he's been there, they have Big Ten size. Well, he commended Juwan Morgan's play down low. He was essentially playing out of position the whole time, and he was. You know, he's listed as 6'8", which means he's probably 6'7". And he was playing the power. He was playing the big man down low. You had Deron Davis, who was hurt a good deal of the time. Hopefully they can keep him healthy next year and get him back to a healthy Deron Davis, because I love his game. I love his heart, his head, his play, everything about it. But we've got a lot more coming up on the program. Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers joins us. He was there last night as well. We'll break it down. We'll hear from Archie Miller, Coach Terry Morin, and Tom Allen as well. Plenty to get to. Stay tuned. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
We're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Thanks a lot for joining us. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios as always. Hope your day's off to a good start. If not, hope we can get it headed in that direction. Big night last night in southern Indiana down at Huber's Orchard and Winery in Starlight as Hoosier Palooza was in town. Coach Archie Miller, head basketball coach, football coach Tom Allen, women's basketball coach Terry Morin, softball coach Shonda Stanton, even the baseball team and Jeff Mercer stopped by to say hi to the crowd last night. A capacity crowd on hand, another full audience, man. Great time, great meal. We were fortunate to meet with Coach Allen and Coach Archie Miller prior to the event. We'll have that.
Also, they both spoke to the crowd. emceed by Don Fisher. The great Don Fisher is great as always. So another nice event. It'd be the last time we probably hear from Archie for a while, as he goes into his summer hibernation. Just kidding. They've got a lot to get to. We don't hear a lot from those guys over the summer. It's camping season now for everybody. Everyone's getting ready for that. But a lot of talk, a lot of questions last night. Like I said, we were fortunate to meet with Archie prior to the event, as well as him speaking it last night. And he answered a few questions at the end of his talk. He was the last one to speak, and he opened it up for questions. And there were some decent questions from the audience, some of which was asked prior to in the pre-event, whatever. But Jake, what do you have ready for us? All right, this is the pre-event presser. Let's hear what Archie had to say.
Get some of these guys back for the majority of basically the remainder of the summer to get our program started, and we're happy about that. The month of May has been really uneventful, so to speak. A lot of recruiting and a lot of planning just in terms of moving into our off season. So like I said, this will be a big weekend to get through and our guys back, and looking forward to our summer plan.
First question, Alex. The three guys that tested the process that decided to come back, what kind of feedback did they get? How did they work out for any teams?
I'm not sure. Justin spent the majority of his time in Bloomington. He's in class right now, so he did a lot of working out. Really put some time in on his game. And Al's been home for the month of May, doing his stuff, and Devontae's also been home. So they've been on their own. I think their feedback, really came more along the lines from the advisory committee and whatnot, and they were able to probably put themselves in some situations where they were able to work out with some facilities and whatnot. But the fact that all three guys are coming back, we're thankful for that. We're very, very excited to get those guys moving forward.
Mike, any update on Jerome Hunter? And do you see him being able to make an impact?
Jerome, yeah. Yeah, Jerome is in Bloomington. He's continuing with his rehabilitation. He's been elevated in terms of his activity level. He's doing a lot more individual stuff, but he's far away from having any indication or any final decision on where he goes from here. We're probably looking towards July and August to seeing what he's capable of doing as we continue to progress him with what the doctors and the training staff have done with his plan. But we're excited to get him back on the floor. He is doing a lot more individual work. He's doing a lot more weight training and conditioning, so it's good to have him back being active.
Jeff?
How do you envision using Deron and Joey, and how do you think Joey and Trace can fit together as far as guys who potentially could be on the court together?
Well, I mean, that's big ball. It's fine. It's right there. To have three guys, really for the first time since I've been here, to be able to man that position and at least have that depth with three guys that are able to play what you would call other big guys on the floor. But I think all three guys have unique games where they can play with one another. Deron obviously is a very, very skilled passer. He's very, very good in the low post. Joey's very good in the low post as well, just being able to play against him and scout him. He's another guy that can move around. But we're going to get those guys moving around a little bit. Trace is going to be able to play with both guys. And one of the two, whoever's on the floor, will have to be able to defend on the perimeter a little bit, and that will determine, so to speak, what combinations work. But the depth at that spot and to have that type of size and strength, so to speak, is a positive.
Kevin, Dustin, and Stu.
Coach, how do you address shooting in the offseason? And are you a guy that
Shoot
tinkers? Are you a guy that tinkers with mechanics, or are you a guy that lets people shoot the way they've shot, or how do you handle that aspect?
I think it's tough. I think when guys get there, the biggest thing is repetition. Guys got to get in the gym. They got to do it every day. You got to shoot the shots that you're shooting in the game. And we've had some guys really progress, to different percentages in our first 2 years, and it's going to have to keep going. And I think Armand coming in has a chance to help us behind the line. Denise getting a year older, and Jerome, depending on where he's at, are all good perimeter shooters that are young. They got to develop, but we'll work hard. Our individual plan and our team guys all summer long will be hitting the gym, and that's a big focus for everyone. Is just continue to become a better shooting team, a better long distance shooting team with more confidence. And it's repetition. It's being able to put them in situations where they're repping it and game speed and game time, and hopefully over the course of time, anytime I've been around it, the more you do it, the better off you get.
Archie, I want to go back to what Jeff asked about playing Trace with those guys. I mean, do you view Trace as more of a 4, more of a 5? I mean, where do you think he fits at this stage?
In this day and age with basketball, it's hard to pin a guy down and say what he is. I think Trace is very mobile. He's very athletic and long. He's better than a lot of people probably give him credit for offensively and putting the ball on the floor and facing up than he's probably been able to show. I also think that with him, the big thing with him is development. He's going to have to develop a way of playing on the perimeter as well. But he's a good he's a high school All-American. He's very talented. That has a lot of room to grow up and get better, which is a good thing. He's basically was on campus. Him and Armand today. They started off. And, Trace was I think 6'9"3/4" and 245 pounds as a true freshman. He's a big kid, but his mobility and his athleticism and his face-up game and some things, those are some things that we're going to really look to take advantage of.
You've got a couple open scholarships after everything that's going on this spring with some of the returnees. Do you envision using that in this current cycle, or are you planning to bank them? What does that look like?
Well, be able for the first time since I've been here is to have some roster flexibility with our scholarship situation. It's never good in 2019 to have 13 guys on scholarship. It just doesn't work at this level. You got to have some flexibility. For us to have a little bit of a breathing room, to have some flexibility to do what we want, we would only use one if it was an impactful decision. We're not going to use one that's going to just be hasty. We've had all spring to kind of evaluate things. But I think going into the 2020 class with some more windows to add some more bodies in that class is something that we look forward to. And, in this day and age with the transfer portal, the NBA draft process, your roster is in constant flux. You got guys coming and going, as soon as the season ends, and you never know. You could have a guy transfer, 2 guys go pro. Next thing you know, you're going to have some more options. So for us, we're going to be very, very smart with it. We would only do anything right now or moving into next year if it was very impactful for us. But to be able to have a bigger 2020 recruiting opportunity is exciting to us.
Along those lines of chemistry, sometimes a bit better with 11 guys.
Yeah, without question. I think the best teams have the best chemistry, quite frankly, are all enjoying it. Sometimes when you have 13 guys on scholarship, 12, if 12 and 13 aren't redshirting or injured, you have some dynamics you have to deal with playing time. And to be able to go into this season a little thinner on that, to me, gives guys more of a light at the end of the tunnel where they have a real purpose and they can see themselves being a part of things for the long term.
Archie, from a big picture sense, as you look back at last season, now moving into this season.
Coach Archie Miller talking to you from last night at Huber's Orchard and Winery in Starlight, Indiana. Answered a lot of questions, talked about a lot of things from Jerome Hunter's status to Trace Jackson Davis and Joey Brunk playing together. The roster flexibility, having 2 open scholarships, basically saying that, not going to be doing anything different unless something very impactful for the team were to come along. Something like I saw the Quentin Grimes, who was a coveted player, point guard or guard that Archie chased without success, transferring from Kansas after a season. So you never know what's going to happen. But he talked about a lot of things right there. We've got a lot more coming up from him as well, though. I think, what do you have? Do you already have it ready to go from the speech, Jake? All right, let's hear what Archie had to say in his actual speech to the Huber's Orchard crowd last night.
You're seeing some of these faces, getting to know the people in this room a little bit more makes it even more important to be here and really give what you guys want. And right now we're in a really sort of last couple of days of what most people probably think is downtime. The season ends and your players start to go in different directions via graduation and changes. Your new players are now finishing high school or college nowadays, and they're moving in, and you're starting to formulate your plan on what you're going to do in the summer. And for us, we're right at that stage right now. We had Juwan Morgan graduate, Evan Fitzner depart, Zach McRoberts finished his first year of grad school and obviously moved on. And obviously Romeo Lanker finished his first season and declared for the draft. So we have 4 departures. All 4 guys did a phenomenal job in the spring. Juwan obviously graduated in 4 years, right on time. He probably had between 15 and 16 interviews with NBA teams over the last 45 and some days. And, he's heading for his plan in June. I think he's going to be a good fit. I think he's going to be in good shape moving forward. He's an incredible kid. Evan will be playing professional basketball somewhere, waiting on his time. Zach actually, just recently, I think he's getting ready to move to Fort Collins, Indiana, and start working for Lilly. So he's moving in that direction, which is good. And then Romeo's hanging out in California right now. He's getting ready for the big day, which is obviously the NBA draft. Anywhere you want to look and anywhere you want to talk, he's doing really well. He's coming off of a thumb surgery, which has really kind of impeded his workout process, but he's done really well. He's interviewed with 15, 16 teams. We're excited and really hopeful that he'll become our 77th NBA draft pick in Indiana. With the departures, obviously you got to add, and we have 3 new guys coming. We're excited about all 3. Trace Jackson Davis and Armand Franklin entered campus today. They started to get their physicals and started to get their stuff in order. They're starting to become college basketball players here. So we're excited to get those 2. And then Joey Brunk decided, upon his graduation from Butler, to choose to come and finish his last 2 years at Indiana, which we're really excited about. Adding Trace and adding Joey to what we have, really for the very first time, we have a Big Ten size inside. And Juwan really played predominantly a big role for us over the last couple of years, but in time, as it overwhelms you sometimes, especially in the Big Ten with the size of the bodies and the strength inside. So being able to get that depth at the true center spot with Duran and being able to play bigger is something that's exciting. And then, our returning guys, for the first time in a while, we're not going to have a ton of new people. We had 6 new bodies on campus last summer, trying to get them sped up. Those guys have all been here for a year, with Rob, Denise, Jerome, him coming back hopefully healthy this season. We're knocking on wood on that. So we have a good plan, and it's going to be a very important summer for these guys. There's got to be some development. There's got to be chemistry like everything. But as you go through a season like we did, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the people in your locker room. You learn a lot about your staff. It's not fun. And at the end of the day, anybody who thinks that you're frustrated or the angriest person in the world about Indiana basketball, the person standing before you is more pissed than anybody. So make sure we all understand that. He gets a stern talking to every morning in the mirror, so you don't have to worry about getting the message to him. But we're excited for our summer. We really are. We'll have everybody on campus all June, July, and we'll finish in August. And we'll start the preparations, obviously, our upcoming season. And schedule's going to be good. We're working on finishing it right now. The headliner games is we'll find out here maybe in July, early July, who our ACC opponent will be. Hopefully at home. We're not in the Gavitt games this year with the Big East. We do have Notre Dame and Bankers Life. We're at Madison Square Garden in Jimmy V Classic versus UConn in early December. And we're still working on our return with Arkansas, who will be coming back with a new coaching staff and a new team to assembly. Those will be the 4 big ones right now. And that'll kind of pin us up as we try to build our schedule around the early Big Ten season, which I'm not sure who will draw in those first 2 in early December. But adding those Big Ten games in early December has really challenged your non-conference. It makes it really, really important that your non-conference obviously builds around it, but it's a tough stretch from basically the Big Ten Challenge early late November all the way through the finals when you finish with that Bankers Life game. Those are some really, really tough games. So Big Ten had an incredible year. Really, to be honest with you, an unmatched year in maybe the last 15 years with the amount of depth in the league. Returns will be good next year as well. And for us to get our best against Big Ten, we have to win home. And that's one of the big things with this team this offseason, understand how important it is to play and simply that important. We should be at some level hopefully unstoppable in there, and that's the goal to do it. But this team has to have more of a concentration level about playing at home in the Big Ten, because if you do that, you're going to be in a great situation to do what you want towards the end of the year.
Speaking to the those in attendance at Huber's Orchard and Winery last night down in Starlight, Indiana, as the Hoosiers on the Road, or Hoosiers Palooza, as I call it, rolled through Southern Indiana. You had a lot of Hoosier flavor there. Coach Archie Miller, as I said, Tom Allen from the football program, Terry Morin from the women's basketball team, Shauna Stanton from the softball team, even the entire baseball team, and Coach Jeff Mercer came by as well. But we've got a lot more to listen to from that last night. We'll hear more from Archie as well as Tom Allen and Terry Morin in the next break. And then after that, we'll be joined by Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers. He was also in attendance, the IU beat writer for CNHI, and we'll break that all down. But stay tuned. We got plenty more coming back here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Everybody was frightening, and the music was soothing, and they all started grooving. And the man at the back said, everyone attack, and it turned into a ballroom blitz.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you, of course, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your day's off to a good start. Lots going on. Last night was Hoosier Palooza, as I call it, down at Huber's Orchard and Winery in southern Indiana, Starlight, Indiana, outside of Borden. A lot of Hoosier flavor last night. Tom Allen, Archie Miller, both there. Spoke with the media beforehand. Spoke to the crowd afterwards. Terry Morin was also there. Shauna Stanton for the softball, baseball program was there with Jeff Mercer. The entire team was there. Pretty cool. But at the end of Archie's talk with the crowd, he opened it up for questions. A couple of decent questions that he answered for him. Let's hear what Archie had to say.
One and done players, they shouldn't have to go to college for a year. I mean, you know, in any profession, when you have young guys that have the ability to cash in and make millions of dollars, they should be allowed to do that. You know, I think at the end of the day, something will get changed, you know, at a certain point in time, but, you know, we're really kind of helpless. You know, a lot of people think it's the NCAA, but it's not. It's really the NBA has to agree, and their Players Association have to agree on age limits and whatnot, so we're kind of a little bit restricted, but you know, Romeo is a classic example of a guy with a lot of attention paid to him and a lot of, you know, he's this, he's that. But Romeo was an 18-year-old freshman in college and he was enjoying himself going to school, taking on road trips. I mean, Romeo stayed to the very last day of the academic calendar year. And he finished all of his academic work and then moved out with his mom, his dad, and our staff on the last Friday before he had to go. He didn't have to do that. Romeo's a good case, a classic case of a guy that enjoyed his time in Indiana, realized that college was hard, and he worked to get better as it went around. In days gone by, you would probably have that opportunity to see Romeo become a Big Ten Player of the Year or first-team All-American next year as a sophomore. But that's just not the way it works right now with the game. So I think it'll change in the course of time. I'm not sure when, but you know, to me, you have to get old in college basketball. And right now, we're getting younger. We're bringing in classes of guys, whether it's 5, 3, or 4, where in your first 2, 3, 4 years, you're actually getting really young again. And that's what it has to do when you're trying to do it the right way. You're trying to build it with stability with classes to get older and develop and lead the young guys. You know, and really, our sophomore class is our first-row class. They have to be better next year. And then Trace and Armand and Joey, they have to, you know, sort of carry the ball to the next level. So getting old is tricky, but getting old is very important. Couple more? Yes, sir.
Coach, you have 3 or 4 people, players coming in this year. What are you doing to encourage the chemistry amongst the players prior to the start of the season?
That's a good question. I mean, you're always trying to build chemistry, and I think that's why the summer is really important. Not only are you on the floor with them as coaches, and they are on the floor together as teammates, but you really have to put them in situations where they're with each other off the floor as well. So you're looking for once a week for some type of team activity that they can do on their own. You're also looking for one maybe family night a week where your entire staff, families and players are together. You're constantly on a quest to try to build that trust. I think that's a big thing this summer for us. But just the work, I think most guys and most people know you got to go through things to get better, and you got to learn from them. Families are no different, and our basketball program is a family. You got a lot of people involved, and you got to make sure at the end of the day everybody's sort of sacrificing and doing what they got to do and being rewarded for that as well. But it's a challenge. But I really feel like Joey Brunk is a really, really important figure for our team over the next couple seasons. He's got a great personality. He's older. He's competitive. He's played in the Big East. And I think he brings a very dominant, loud voice to the floor and the locker room and off the floor, where I think he can really be a fire plug for us. We need more of an energy level. We need more of a personality. Sometimes when you get young, you're quiet. You don't say much. As you get older, you learn the ropes a little bit. So I think bringing in Joey, to me, is a real important thing when we talk to him about recruiting, is to bring, that passion and also that personality to our team. We need that. Yes?
Yeah, first of all, I'm a huge Archie Miller fan.
Oh, thank you.
I know we got 4 scholarships for 2020.
Yep.
We've got 2 that we could use this year for grass and maybe shoot the 3, the perimeter.
Yeah.
That we could use it for 1 year, still have the 2 left to get 4 for 2020. Why don't we try to get?
Yeah, I think one of the things, it's a good question. We do have 4, and it's the first time since I've been here that we've had the ability to have any roster flexibility. We haven't had any roster flexibility since I've gotten here. We inherited 16 on scholarship, and 3 guys went pro the first spring, so we were full boat with 13. And then this past season, we were full boat with 13. And it really, I've always been under the impression that lower number is better for basketball, especially in a place like Indiana. You don't see the floor earlier in your career, you're going to roll fast. That's the way things work now. So when your scholarship numbers are down a little bit, I think it gives those 9, 10, and 11 guys a little bit more light at the end of the tunnel. So we've kept 2 scholarships. We've obviously explored a lot of the options with the grad transfer stuff. But the grad transfer is a little tricky, because if I graduate and I go to school, I better be getting what I signed up for. And not every grad transfer is coming in to be a part of a team. They kind of want that instant spot or whatever. But if one would work, if one would happen to impact our team in a good way, we could go that direction with it, because it wouldn't hurt us in 20. But this class, like I said, in 20, having more scholarships to me is very important. It's that ability for us not to be as limited with 1 or 2. We want to have the ability to bring in 3 or 4 kids, see what happens in the off season, and maybe add another one. But like I said, I want a bigger class in 20 to come in. And if something could change, you never know. Guys fall out of the sky in August nowadays. You may just catch them. We'll see how it works. If he can help us, if something could help our basketball team in the immediate future, and we felt it was a good thing, we would try that.
And that was Coach Archie Miller talking to you again from Huber's last night as the Hoosier Palooza was on the road. They answered some questions from the audience there at the end, a lot of different things about chemistry, about Joey Brunk getting older and roster flexibility. I'll talk about that more with Kevin Brockway in the next segment. But the roster flexibility means they didn't get the guys they were going after, and so they have some open scholarships, as truth be told. But Terry Morin also spoke to the crowd. She talked about the building a history in Indiana.
I think everybody's excited about is the fact that I know we are and proud of is that we've made history. Again, being from Southern Indiana, I've watched a lot of Indiana games, and that's both men's and women's. And I never thought that I would see the day 2 years ago when we were in the NIT with 13,000 and those 9 spectators that showed up to support us and cheer us, and fans were actually in the rafters in Assembly Hall. And I never will forget that for our players and our community. And myself, again, just being from Seymour and never imagining that we would get that kind of crowd that would come out and support women's basketball. But one thing you guys, and I know that you guys love and care about, are hanging those banners. So it was a pretty significant thing for us to be able now to have history in the hall with women's basketball, of being able to hang that WNIT championship banner up there 2 years ago, which was really a great thing for us. But as we move forward in our program,
Morin talking to the crowd as well last night. Also, Tom Allen got to speak to those in attendance. Let's hear what Tom had to say.
Plenty of time now to look through all your spring film. What did you really like, and what do you need to work on?
Well, what I liked was I felt like defensively, with having a new defensive coordinator, and not changing the scheme, but just doing some things differently. I thought I loved the way we flew around. I loved the speed that I saw after watching all the film. You take a step back, objectively watch the group work. I like the number of guys that flashed and made plays, and whether it's on the defensive line, a lot of different guys' names there, linebackers, a lot of different guys there, secondary, a lot of different guys there. So that encouraged me, but still need to work on the physical strength and depth of our defensive line. That's a big priority. Offensively, really encouraged by the rapid, I'd say, growth of putting in a new offense with Kalen DeBoer as a new offensive coordinator, and just like the things that we're able to do. I like the flexibility and multiplicity I think I see us being able to have with our system, and maximizing our roster there. Another area of concern, I guess, would just be the depth on offensive line. The strength of that group. So once again, that's a big priority. We knew already coming into the summer. So June and July, that's going to be another part. I thought they had a great offensive line, had a great month of May, which is just a really discretionary time that they have to do. You can't require them to be there, but the guys know what's at stake. They know how hard they worked, and there was a great work ethic by the offensive line this past month. And so that's a tribute to Coach DeBoer, leader of the offense, and Coach Hiller, our offensive line coach, and our strength staff. So I feel like that Miles Marshall is one that continues to impress me with his work ethic. Another guy that I mentioned already about from the season, but just really like his mindset right now. And Nick Westbrook, another one, just really rising up and being a leader. The three senior offensive linemen have been excellent, like you would expect them to be, showing that leadership every day, showing up and doing extra things. They had the most workouts of anybody on our whole team, those three guys in the month of May, and that just shows you that where they're at mentally and how much this means to them and how hard they're working. The running back room is a room that I like right now. They have to keep working hard, and you better be on your toes and look over your shoulder, because there's a lot of guys in there that can take your job if you're not doing all those things right. So that to me is what sticks out, is just the number of individuals that we have. We're starting to create some depth, need more. It has to continue with recruiting, but bringing in this recruiting class and getting those guys here this summer is exciting, and just knowing that that's what we're going to have to do to be able to be where we want to be, which is have the quality depth that you need to finish out games and finish out the season.
There's Coach Tom Allen from Indiana football team talking about depth added and needed, and what they can look forward to. But got to hear a lot from last night. We'll talk about it all with Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers, the IU beat writer, when we come back with more Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle coming up from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always here at Indiana Sports Beat. Joined now by a good friend, Kevin Brockway from CNH Papers, IU beat writer. Kevin, how's it going, brother?
Good morning. A pretty eventful trip down to Huber's Winery yesterday for sure.
Yeah, you got to experience that for your first time. A pretty big crowd. Were you surprised by the size of the crowd? How did that set in?
Yeah, alumni event. Obviously, people are fired up to see Archie Miller and Tom Allen and other coaches there. And I really thought that Archie did a pretty good job addressing the crowd. He was pretty candid and, talked about the fact that nobody was angrier about how last season unfolded than himself. And, all in all, it was still a season where they made the postseason. They made the NIT 19 and 16, but that just shows you that he obviously realizes that a lot more work needs to be done.
Yeah, he talked about a lot of things. The addition of Jerome Hunter. I mean, the addition of Trace Jackson Davis and Joey Brunk, and those guys playing together and talking about having Big Ten size for the first time.
Yeah, and I think that that was an interesting point in terms of the fact that maybe Juwan Morgan suggesting that he was maybe a little undersized at the center spot. Although you're talking about a guy who really kind of made up for it with his effort throughout his career at IU. But when you've got a guy like Brunk that's 6'11", you've got Trace Jackson Davis at 6'9", Deron Davis at 6'10", you got a little beef in there. And I think he thinks pretty highly of Brunk too, not for just what he can give him on the court, but off the court too. His personality, a guy who maybe has some leadership qualities in his 3 years at Butler and his ability to compete there and compete against the Big East and come in here and maybe be a guy that can score a little in the post, rebound a little, and give you, some intangibles off the court.
Yeah, one of the things that he talked about, and it's kind of ironic now with the way college basketball has gone, but talked about getting older and how they need to get older, which we all know that is the case, but that they're actually getting younger because they're adding more new faces to the event, with the exception of Joey Bronk, who does bring them some experience with 2 years of collegiate eligibility already exhausted under his belt. But getting older and this age of one and dones and everybody trying to get to the NBA, it's a kind of a signaled switch in college basketball to getting back to how it was, 10, 15 years ago.
And some teams have developed that culture. I think the key really is just having that core group of guys. Now, you take a look at Virginia, which won the national championship last year, and listen, they had to go through their share of heartbreak, losing to one as a 16 seed the year before. But you take a look at Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, and DeAndre Hunter, three guys that worked together for 3 years. And DeAndre Hunter, I think he had a redshirt year, but with an injury. But for the most part, you're talking about three guys that, were the core of that team, core producers of that team, and they had that cohesiveness and playing together from the beginning. And I think that's the best way to build it, is to have a group of guys that come in together and that build that chemistry. Because as we know, basketball, above all else, you can have some great individual talents, but it's still a team game. And when you have that, you have a group of guys that have played together for a while, that can really counter, individual talent.
Yeah, that goes right into talking about chemistry, team chemistry. It's something that came up last night, but it's something that is obviously on the minds of everybody, because last year's team seemed to have one of the things they did not have besides shooting was team chemistry. It just wasn't there, and it was painfully obvious. And it's something that any successful team in any sport has to have. You can't play without it. And I think that is something uber important for that team going forward. And I think that they seemed, and not because of any addition or loss of a particular player, it just is what it is. But they just weren't very cohesive as a team last year. And I think that that's something that's going to be in the forefront of Archie's mind.
Yeah, ball movement, player movement, that all plays into it. And I think feelings of, belonging, of being invested, of being part of something. And I think that does come with time, and it comes a little bit with success too. It's a little bit of a chicken and egg argument, because I think that, your locker room is better when you're winning, right? So you've got to kind of, and they, this Indiana team last year had that early momentum in the non-conference schedule, and it seemed to really spiral in mid-January into early February before they regrouped somebody at the end of the season. But I think, it has to do a lot with, having the right pieces and having guys that are willing to work together and sacrifice for one another. And that's not always easy in today's age of college basketball, where you have guys that are looking to get to the NBA.
Yeah, and you talk about, he was candid. Coach Archie Miller was candid last night, as was Don Fisher in introducing everybody. I mean, he didn't cut anybody any slack. He was kind of funny. But Archie, the one thing that he did talk about that I kind of chuckled over, though, was having roster flexibility when asked about having 2 open scholarships, and talked about how having not really had that since they'd been there. Well, the only reason they have quote unquote roster flexibility is because they didn't land anybody that they were going after in this class, other than the ones that they already had in Armand Franklin and Trey Jackson Davis. The many of the other 19 offers they made, none of them came through. So that's why there's roster flexibility.
Yeah, 11 guys isn't enough. It'll be interesting. I think we've discussed this before, but I think it maybe hurts you more in practice in terms of having quality bodies, especially if guys go down and get hurt. And, we know that, Indiana had a share of injuries last year as well. So this is a team this season, going into the season, that really can't afford to have any key guys go down, because you're thin already from a roster standpoint.
And that plays right into something that Tim texted in about Jerome Hunter. He was asked about Jerome Hunter last night, and not really a lot was said, to be honest with you. And so he's a big question mark, and there's nothing to indicate that I'm not saying he's not going to be back, but there's nothing to indicate that he's going to be back. So that's not something that you can count on, although that is a very big piece that they're missing. He was the second biggest recruit last year behind Romeo Langford. Didn't get to see him last year, and he's a guy that offers Indiana some flexibility at that wing spot. He can shoot. He can move with the ball. He just has a lot of upside. But to not have that's got to hurt, because you lose Romeo and your top recruit, and you basically have lost your second top recruit from last year as well. Now with Jerome Hunter not having been able to play up to this point.
Yeah, and he said he was cleared for physical activity somewhat, but he was a little vague in terms of, what he was actually able to do. Maybe a little bit of, running and so forth. But it sounds like it's going to be a long process.
Yeah, and there's no answers. And I don't think it's because they're trying to be that vague. I don't know that they just don't have any answers. They just don't know. I mean, Archie talked about hopefully after maybe June or July, they can get to a point where they can have an idea of what they're dealing with. But it's just a sad situation for him. It's not really an injury, to be honest with you. It's a condition. It's a leg condition that he has. So hopefully he can get past that. But man, that I know Archie's sitting there thinking, man, it would be really nice if I had this dude to play, and it would be, because he brings a different dynamic than anybody else he has on the team right now. I think he's more of a controlled type of Troy Williams in a way. I'm not sure.
And if you have that wing player, I think that's kind of the key, is having a guy on the wing that can. That's capable of, with a little bit more size, because you've got the big guys up front. But if you have that guy, that kind of 6'7" wiry guy, that can really help.
Some of the other things we talked about last night, and we'd already seen, but Indiana will not be participating in the Gavitt games next year, the cross games that go on with the Big East, which I'm sure they're fine with. No big names for them really to play there anyway. Their ACC opponent has yet to be named. They hopefully that comes out sometime in the near future. Of course, playing UConn in the Jimmy V Classic in Madison Square Garden will be a cool event. And then Arkansas comes to town and return for that game that they lost on the road last year down in Fayetteville.
Yeah, it should be a good schedule. And then you got obviously Notre Dame in the Crossroads Classic, so you've got a decent non-conference schedule, and where you can, I think, a good balance of, you've got some good teams in there, but you've probably got some beatable teams too. So that maybe will give this team confidence early in the season.
Yeah, and getting a win against some teams like that will give them great confidence. And I think this is something this team is going to need. But I don't think this team's going to be lacking that as much. I see a team that's going to be a little bit more cohesive than what you saw last year. But I see a team that's going to be a lot more vocal. I think the Joey Brunk, he's not going to be afraid to express his opinion. He's the new guy on the block, but it doesn't matter. He's going to be a junior as far as the years go. So he's not going to be afraid to do that. Devontae Green, definitely not going to be afraid. I think that you're going to see Rob Finney grow into his role at the point and becoming more of a leader. But Trace Jackson-Davis, even though he's a freshman, from when I've been around him and I've watched him play and I've seen him play, he's confident in his game, not in a cocky way, but he's just confident. He feels like that he knows what he's doing. Not that he knows everything, but that he's confident in what he's doing, and that he's not afraid to express that to his teammates around him. I think this team needs that. Not just one leader, but they all have to stand up and be a part of that, because you saw so little of that last year. To none, really.
Well, Trace Jackson-Davis, we know he's a talent. McDonald's All-Americans. He's a McDonald's All-American for a reason. I thought it was interesting too that Archie mentioned that Finney could take on an expanded offensive role next year. Now, whether that means more scoring, more assists, more distributing, I think he's looking for Finney to be a guy that gives them a little more production next year. So it'll be interesting to see, how that unfolds. And when you give point guards freedom to shoot and create, they can be really a big time weapon if you have a point guard that can give you some offense and some scoring as well.
Joker thinks that the ACC Big Challenge will be either Duke or North Carolina, which has been the case for quite a while. Those are TV matchups, man. And if you don't think, for those that don't think Indiana's still a big brand name, that's why when that comes around, that's why the ESPN wants to see Indiana playing Duke or Indiana playing North Carolina for that reason. It's still, no matter what, Indiana is Indiana. So, but we'll see how that turns out. And hopefully that'll be a home game for Indiana. And what a boost that could be, not just to confidence, but to everything, to your RPI, which they don't really have that anymore, but to all that stuff at season's end, having a big-time ACC opponent come into Assembly Hall, if they can get a win there, that would be big for them.
Yeah, it's the net ratings now, right? But no, it would be a boost regardless, strength of schedule-wise. And, you get North Carolina, you get Duke coming to town. I think it would be a big-time atmosphere as well. It'd be a lot of fun. But, yeah, definitely about the eyeballs on the TV sets, and that tells you about, the passion for this, team and what this fan base brings to the table in terms of, national respect and national viewership.
Starting tomorrow, 2:00, Indiana hits the baseball diamond down at Jim Patterson Field in Louisville. The NCAA tournament getting underway. Indiana participating for the sixth time in the last 7 years. Down there also, of course, right across the river is Jeffersonville, home of Gabe Bierman, who recently lost his father, Dougie Bierman, who I knew from Floyd Central High School down there. His father was a pitcher. You wrote a great piece in the CNHI papers that if you haven't read it, you need to find it, folks. Just look it up either from CNHI papers if you're not in one of those markets, Jeffersonville, New Albany, Anderson. They're all over the state, but you can find it under Kevin Brockway's byline. But that was a great piece on Gabe Bierman.
Yeah, and he really just opened up about what his father meant to him. And listen, Gabe has had, quite a freshman year. He's Big Ten Freshman of the Week 1 week. And obviously a very, you think about it, 2 days after his father passes away, and he just saw him earlier in the week in the Louisville game, on May 14th, May 16th, he passes away. And then, 2 days later, he's on the mound for that final 3 innings against Rutgers. And so it was like an out-of-body experience, being out there, throwing the final pitch and thinking about his dad. And, I'm sure he'll have a really heavy heart, especially pitching, across the river from his hometown in Louisville. But he's going to have plenty of family support, and he feels like, that's what he really needs at this point. All his siblings will be there. His mom will be there. He'll have a lot of friends from Jeffersonville in town. And he's a pitcher who's got a really bright future as well.
Absolutely. Quite a few of those on that Indiana baseball team. Grant Richardson, another player that was named Freshman of the Year this year for a few times by the Big Ten. So they've got a lot of talent coming up. And looking forward to the series, the playoffs this weekend. Of course, it will most likely involve a game or possibly two with Louisville, one of the top-ranked teams in the country. A rematch from a game played earlier this season on a Tuesday in Bloomington at Bart Kaufman Field. Indiana would lose that game in extra innings, but that was after spotting Louisville to a 6-0 lead, and they would come back and tie that late in the game, and then it would go on to extra innings and go, I think it went 11 innings before Louisville was able to pull that win out. But that should be a great matchup between those two squads.
Yeah, Jeff Mercer said earlier this week, got to bounce back from that performance in the Big Ten tournament where they were kind of 2 in barbecue out there. So, they had 5 errors in the 2 games, have to clean some things up defensively, obviously, in the pitching. You'll probably see Paulie Milto in one of those first 2 games, but got to get by Illinois State first and then worry about that possible matchup with Louisville there at beautiful Jim Patterson Field.
Yep, that'll be tomorrow at 2:00. We'll be down there giving you complete coverage of that. So tune into that. Kevin, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it as always. Look forward to it, doing it again soon.
All right, thank you.
You betcha. It's Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers joining us, the IU beat writer. As always, he was down at Huber's last night with us as well, taking all that in. But also a great piece on Gabe Bierman. If you haven't read it, go find that. As well. We'll be down covering Indiana baseball all weekend. So for updates, at Jim Coyle ISB on Twitter, follow along. I'll post it on Facebook as well. But that's going to pretty much wrap it up. It's been a great week. We've had a lot of great guests on this week and finished up with the big event at Huber's with Archie Miller and Tom Allen and Coach Morin and Coach Stanton, just a whole bunch from down there. But we'll look forward to doing it again on Monday, guys. So until then, have a great weekend. And I was just kidding, Jake. We'll be back tomorrow. I thought maybe make it an even shorter week. But no, just kidding. We'll be back tomorrow. Todd Leary, as a matter of fact, on the program tomorrow. So and we'll see what else we can scare up for you. But until then, that's going to wrap it up. For Jake, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.